what happens to any of us, anywhere in the world, had better be the business of us all.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Backlot Banter movie review. My name is Tucker Hazel and this is my co-host Tanner Dykstra, and today we're here to talk about Till. From director Chinonye Chukwu and starring Daniel Detweiler, we are going to be reviewing this very powerful film that has been getting a lot of buzz in terms of it being maybe one of the first contenders for a couple of Oscars here and there. But Tanner, thank you for joining me, and if you, our audience members, want to talk to us about Till or any other movies that we are coming out in this season, there's a lot coming up, please join our Discord or leave a comment down below where you can find a subscribe button, you can find a like button, and you can just chat all live long day. But Tanner, we saw Till, and I'd like you to give me your thoughts on this film.
Tucker, you mentioned that in your opening that Till is a powerful movie, and I agree. Yeah. Till is a movie that commands its audience's attention, I feel.
Yeah.
And commands its respect, I think, at the same time. You know, it is tackling some very heavy historical material, putting that straight to the screen, and I think it accomplishes it very, very well in translating the importance of America seeing the images of Emmett Till's body. Mm-hmm. And this movie is largely about Mamie Till as well, yes, and her decision to do so, and her experiences going through the trial over the murder of her son, mm-hmm, and facing that great injustice that is, you know, she's always looking down the barrel of, and is seemingly indomitable towards her and all other African Americans. And I think Till translates all of that, puts that all on screen fantastically.
Yeah, it definitely is a film that doesn't feel like other films you've seen in terms of its pacing and its tone. It starts off bright and happy as Emmett Till is excited to go down to the South and see his cousins, but obviously you hit a wall when he is lynched and his mother finds out about this, and then they have to just deal with the ramifications and the cultural ramifications and how this is impacting the lives of other Black people around the country, and how everyone is reacting to this, and it shifts the sort of cultural understanding about if something happens in the South, it shouldn't just be ignored and swept under the rug. And because of that, the film does operate in this sort of path of it is just one mountain after another, and you don't really feel like by the end of the film we've fully gotten over it, because as the film ends with the text of, and you know, history indicates, it wasn't the end. There still was civil rights to be fought for. There still were the fact that the people that did kill Emmett Till and led to his death didn't serve any justice for these actions. So it's about the inspiration that such tragedy can cause in the minds of America.
Mm-hmm. To that end, Tucker, I think we need to start off talking about Danielle Detweiler in this lead role.
Yeah.
She is a powerhouse. I mean, we throw that word around a lot, I feel, for great performances, but I think she really embodies the concept of being a powerhouse lead performance.
Yeah.
And the writers recognize that this is Danielle Detweiler, this is Mamie Till's movie.
Yeah.
The director recognizes this, and it's clear from the visual language, from the directorial styles, and from the writing, that they are focusing on Mamie Till, and Danielle Detweiler is in this role. There are times where I was just sucked into these long sequences, these single takes of her just giving her testimony, talking to people at a dinner table or something, mm-hmm, like that. She has a commanding presence, much like the commanding film that she is leading. I think she is just fantastic.
Yeah, and I really do hope that she isn't overlooked in terms of actually winning awards as the year comes to a close and when we start getting into award season. She's one of the first times I've watched a performance and really felt like this is deserving not only of nominations, because I'll often think like, yeah, you know, this, I can see this being in the conversation, but I often sort of just let the wins go to other people, because usually the performances that really connect with me aren't the ones that are going to be winning these huge awards. But watching her on the screen, and you're right, the focus that this film has on her experience and her acting easily commands this to be a winning performance in my eyes. And I would honestly be really surprised if we get to the end of the year and A, she's not nominated, which I kind of think is unlikely. But B, I think she can and should win. Now, I haven't seen all the performances out there. We're just barely getting into awards film season for us lay people who haven't gone to these film festivals. But this is gonna stick with me to the end.
I do want to draw attention to the sort of tag team duo that is Chinoye Chukwu and Danielle Detweiler in this. In emphasizing that performance as Mamie Till, there's a lot of emphasis on her perspective, quite literally. There's a lot of moments of close-ups of her eyes. There's a number of times where she's not making eye contact with the person that she's speaking to, where she's just sort of staring off into space potentially. And there is that idea of she is having thoughts outside of this conversation. She's having thoughts outside of these people telling her, you need to get involved in the politics of this for X, Y, and Z reason. She is a mentally complex character, and that comes across in the direction and Detweiler's performance.
Yeah.
I do want to say, along the lines of the visual language / visual styling of this film, this is my only negative point of this.
Okay.
I feel that this film is oversaturated visually, color-wise. It makes a point to make everything brighter, I feel, especially in those opening few scenes. But as we go through the rest of the film, I'm like, this is just too bright for my liking. I think it also draws attention to the potentially abundant use of green screen in this film. I think it just further draws attention to the fact, like, these edges aren't matching up right, the lighting isn't matching up right here, the saturation of all of this is a little off to me. It's just something I noticed, and a bit of a drawback in my visual experience of this film.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't agree on that, because I actually, while I was watching this film, I was paying attention to the use of color, and what you would consider oversaturated, I just consider well done color grading, because I'm so used to films about serious historical material taking a draw away from the color and dulling down things. And I think that being able to show the rich dark skin tones of so many of the people in this film, and the bright red of her lipstick, and the colors of her dresses, and the the greens of the countryside of Mississippi, I think it makes it a more visually engaging film than your average movie that's about something serious historically. So I think it stands out in a very positive way for me for that. And that also combines with the cinematography, which is heavy use of mirrors and reflection shots and lots of point of view, as you were talking about. I think that was all really well done. I think the good color grading, in my eyes, gives it a leg to stand on in terms of, it's not super amazing in terms of the cinematography, but the color I thought was really well done.
Yeah. It's not a persistent issue. I think this is still a very well directed film in large part, broadly speaking. But there's just a number of times, especially in the exterior shots, is why I noticed it quite a bit, where maybe the reflection off the grass was like, I'm getting like flashbanged by this exterior shot right now. What's going on? But no, it's not a persistent issue. Just something that I noticed that occurs a number of times. I did want to draw attention to a point that came up about Till when it was being marketed, and subsequently something I think that they had to put out a sort of address of. I did see that the director, in a trailer for this movie, said that we will not be seeing violence towards black people.
Yeah.
And that brought up a question in my mind of, will we see Emmett Till's body in this movie, his mutilated body? And the answer is yes.
Yes,
and
emphatically yes.
It happens in a sort of reveal where you're initially asking yourself, are we going to see it? It's sort of like blocked by a rail or something in the foreground, but then you pan up and then you do see it in close-up shots numerous times. And I wasn't expecting that, quite frankly. I was expecting that they were going to sort of skirt around that based on that comments about based on the director's comments. But ultimately, I feel like it is to the film's benefit, because as I opened up, I said, this film understands the importance of those images.
Yeah.
And if I can speak a bit more broadly about politics in general, I think it's important. This is a concept that's something that people have brought up. is that seeing black and white photos of these things can make them feel more distant than they
Yeah,
really are. I
absolutely.
mean, the people responsible for Emmett Till's death were alive in this millennium.
Yep.
They were alive while we were alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having a live action translation of these events is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think the film absolutely treats these images with the importance that Mamie Till and all the people at the NAACP and all the people behind this trial and in Emmett Till's funeral and everybody recognized that it was important for people to see him, to
Yeah.
see the effects of racism, of the hatred in the South where he was killed,
Mm-hmm.
and why he was killed, and pushing the civil rights movement forward because of this tragic event. And I think
Yeah.
that this film embodies all those same ideals very well.
Yeah, and it does because it chooses not to stray away from showing his corpse. And I think that, as you're saying, it's an important choice because for me, my exposure previously to this story, to what the effects of his death and his mother's actions were just in fleeting moments in classrooms. Like, here's the scenario of what happened. Here's a quick picture of his body, the actual picture, and then don't look if you're gonna be sick or you don't want to see this, and then we'll continue talking about it in more vague terms. And I think that showing focus on it like pulls it into more reality for people like you and I who are decades removed from this and have only seen it in pretty much the single still black and white photo that is shown in our classrooms in a fleeting moment. Having it be shown in explicit detail is a more sobering effect to the realism of the fact that this happened. Of course, that's a prop and this is a film, but it does make it feel more real. It being in color, maybe to your taste, oversaturated color, but in color, in having a real person in Daniel Deadweiler acting out the emotional trauma of someone reacting to this, it does feel like more of a real thing that happened, which of course it was, but to the modern audience, it like, that's in the past. And like, no, that was 60 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
our grandparents
modern
were
US
alive
history.
when it
Yes.
happened. So yeah. And I think that really just applies to the reference I was talking about with this film of it just feels like it treats its source material so seriously that I sincerely doubt that there's a lot of errancy from the actual historical fact or inventing things or coming up with things for the story, because I mean, this is real life drama. It doesn't get more dramatic than the impact of civil rights movement and the impact on a personal level of watching a mother bawl her eyes out because of the immense trauma that she's experienced. And that is just carried across in this film in a way that not a lot of films this simple have on me. In terms of simplicity, it's just like, this is a story about something that happened in history and there's not a lot of embellishments. There's not a lot of cinematic flair. It is presented as, boom, this is what happened, and it's emotionally impactful because it was emotionally impactful and continues to be as when we learn about it in an educational context. But I'm glad we're having this conversation about it.
Yes. I do have one final point that I want to bring up, and that is the note that this film ends on.
Mm-hmm.
It is after the result of the trial, wherein the two murderers of Emmett Till are set free because it's a all-white jury in Mississippi. What do you expect is going to happen? I love the moment where Mamie realizes that is going to be the case, and she's like, I know what the verdict is.
Yeah, doesn't need to stick around for it.
Yeah, and then they leave. They drive out of money. Is it Mississippi or is it Alabama? I'm sorry.
It's Mississippi.
Okay, thank you.
You got it right.
And then you see her giving a speech in Harlem on behalf of the NAACP, and then you see her go home.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I love, is that in any other civil rights film, we would have ended on this big triumphant moment of her speaking about, the events of the film, basically giving a summary of what the audience should take away in this big film. But no, what the audience is left to take away with is that, yes, she was an incredible woman who did incredibly courageous things, but she was just a mother.
Yeah.
And you see her go home to an empty house.
Yeah.
And take off her shoes and her jewelry that she was wearing for this big speech and sit down on her bed and play her son's favorite song just to remember him. And I absolutely adored that as the ending of this film.
Very good touch. Absolutely. But we are reaching the end of our review here. Actually, hold on. There's one last thing that I want to mention is that I really think that the supporting cast of this film does an excellent job. And I really think you can go down the list of the other people that Mamie interacts with, and each of them give Oscar-worthy moments across the course of the film of where they're crying or they're recounting their experience with how this is impacting them. And I found that to be really impressive because I'm so used to side characters being good, but not delivering those moments that really sell the impact on a widespread level. But there's so many of the moments with Whoopi Goldberg or Mamie's brother or her father or the man that she lives with and ends up marrying. They each have these moments, and if the movie focused on more on them, they'd be in supporting Oscar categories. But that's just a really impressive thing about the direction of this film, getting such great performances out of so many cast members.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say about Till except for my score for this film.
That's perfect.
And I think I'm going to settle on an 8.9 for this film.
Yeah, sure. For me, I'm going to land about the same area. I'm going to go with an 8.8. I think that for me, on a very subjective level, I look for more visual creativity, more conceptual creativity out of my favorite films, but for what this film does, it is so focused on its goal and nails those across the board that even when I'm not like raving up this being one of my personal favorite movies of the year, its quality, the depth of its acting, and the emotional and hopefully political impact that this film has is just so important that you can't help but recognize its power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, we will be finishing our review and seeing you guys in the future in other reviews. Thanks for watching.